Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled you're here today for today's Lunch with the Leader, the Little Black Dress Rule, How to Show and Tell Your Brand on LinkedIn, featuring Jeannie Rouge. Your brand deserves to feel as fabulous as you do. Let's kick things off with a little gratitude magic because we are in November. Drop in the chat something that you're grateful for today. Could be anything, something you're grateful for. I am grateful for Jeannie. Heg's grateful for being here. Jessica's a break in the rainy weather. Jeannie's excited to be here. Ellen said, my friend's confidence in me. Oh, I love that. Vicky says, no snow. That's, yes. I'm grateful for that every day after moving to Florida. John said, my coffee machine. That's hilarious. Molly said, finalizing my 2026 business goals. Way to go, Molly. And Tracy got a new puppy. Oh, I feel like we need to see the new puppy. You need to post that on Slack, my friend. Love new puppies. Excellent. Before we jump into the presentation, I want to just discuss a couple of things, some housekeeping, and I want to give a big sparkly thank you to our sponsor today, Bookkeeping Buds. If you're new here, I'm Cindy Schrader, the founder of Buds. It is my warm, supportive corner of the internet for women building bookkeeping firms. Think of it like your bookkeeping happy place, where kindness isn't a weakness, play doesn't have to be earned, and your life never has to shrink to fit your work. It's where bookkeepers come to dream big, shine bright, and build their fairy tale firms. And we also cheer each other on every step of the way. So if you've ever wished you had accounting friends, accountability partners, or a community that actually gets you, then Buds might just be the perfect next chapter in your story. I'll put a link in the chat so you can peek behind the curtain after the call and maybe take the first step to create your fairy tale firm because your business should support the life you love. The call will also be recorded so that you can watch it again, or if there's things that you missed that you want to check out again. If you're a Buds member, we do post all of the recorded calls into our resources channel, so you can find it there, but it will be emailed out to everyone. You're joining us today for our Lunch with a Leader series where we hear from an expert in a specific field. Today's guest is the sparkly Jeannie Rouge, who I've known for a very long time. Jeannie is a story coach and brand strategist and the founder of The Content Motive, where she helps founders and creators find the story that finally fits. With 20 plus years shaping brands, leading marketing campaigns and teams, designing words and visuals, and writing books, she's learned how to spot the exact moment a story loses the plot and how to piece it back together so your story walks in before you do. You can find out more at jeannierouge.com. I met Jeannie a very long time ago when she was part of the Sleater group. I don't know if any of you have been around long enough to even remember the Sleater group, but one of the things that we did there at one of their conferences was we actually started the flash mob. So Jeannie sang on stage. And I actually ran up to the front of this crowd of, I don't know, 1,000 people and started the flash mob. So it was kind of a crazy. That just popped up on Facebook the other day. So it was kind of a weird, a weird
Oh, that's funny.
party. And it was Pete was in the back filming it, and this was
Oh.
it had to have been. I want to say like 12 years ago or something like that. And so the cameras weren't as good on your phone back then. It's like all the people were like this big,
Mhm.
which was perfectly fine. But anyway, I digress. Jeannie's amazing. I've been working with her and she'll show you what she's been helping me with throughout her presentation. But she's just such a super creative person. And I know I'm so excited to introduce her to all of you. Take it away, Jeannie.
Awesome. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you everyone for having me. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
There, perfect.
Right. Everyone can see the screen? Right. Excellent. Thank you so much, Cindy, for having me and everyone for having me. This presentation I call the Little Black Dress Rule, and we'll get into why that is and how to show and tell your brand on LinkedIn. The idea of this is LinkedIn is where we're going to focus today, and I'm sure where most of your questions will come from. But the idea of this is transferable to take your brand anywhere, to any platform, and how you really think about building your brand. Share a little story. My husband and I actually met on Match.com. In one of our first email exchanges, I gave him a test and I had sent him in the email. And I asked him, I said, where is this line from? It's from a movie. And I asked him if he knew the answer. And the line was, just you wait, Henry Higgins, just you wait. I don't know if anybody here in this room knows where that actually comes from, but he knew the answer to it. And that is actually how he got his first date. And the reason that I bring this up is because when I was building this presentation, he was peeking over my shoulder and he said, hey, why is Audrey Hepburn there? And obviously, if for those who don't know where that comes from, it's from the movie My Fair Lady, which this is not her in My Fair Lady, but also Audrey Hepburn is just iconic. And I said, because she's wearing the little black dress, and my presentation is called The Little Black Dress Roll. And his immediate reaction was, oh, yes, she is, and she looks damn good. And it made me laugh, and I knew I had to tell the story because that reaction is the full reason why this dress works. And it's the same reason why a brand works. Every woman that I know has one little black dress, or it could be a different type of outfit, but one outfit that you pull out of the closet when you want to feel a certain way, when you want to feel magnetic, when you want to feel effortless. You put it on. It is the one that you know you can count on. It's timeless. It's flattering. It's effortless. You don't have to think about it. We just know that it works. That is what your brand should feel like. So if you think about Audrey Hepburn, she's iconic. But the dress became iconic not because it was new. This was actually the little black dress was created by Coco Chanel many years prior to this, but because it made everyone feel the moment that she walked into the room. She walked in and the world noticed. And when you look at your brand, that's what the best brand stories do. They fit so naturally that you don't have to try. You don't have to keep pushing it forward. Without that fit, though, you can feel invisible, or worse, you feel forgettable. But most of us don't start looking as beautifully put together as Audrey Hepburn is, or most people in any of their beautiful black dresses. We tend to start here. So you've probably been here and you've tried on all the versions of the things that you should be on LinkedIn. You've drowned yourself in the trends, the opinions, what I like to call the shoulds. That's what I tell myself in the morning. Don't pay attention to the shoulds because it reminds me not to listen to them. One week you're doing daily inspiration. The next week you're doing carousels. And someone says, oh, wait, video needs to happen. And so you awkwardly grab your phone and be like, I have no idea how to do this. I would be mortified. And it's just exhausting. We get exhausted trying to figure it all out because when your brand doesn't fit you, you actually blend in and you start to sound like everyone else. And for the bookkeepers of the world, you tend to become more one detail-oriented, QuickBooks certified, organized team player profile in a sea of sameness. I'm sure that probably feels a little familiar to everybody in here, which tends to mean that the wrong clients will find you, the right clients will scroll past, and you end up competing on one thing, the one thing that's left, price. You're stuck explaining yourself over and over again because your brand didn't do the heavy lifting for you up front. So, and if you guys have questions, make sure to Paul in as we're going through too. So why does this keep happening? This is the shoulds. This is the list that I keep in my head that we're all listening to, that everybody like pays attention to. Post more, sound bolder, be everywhere, post 7 times a week, 3 times a day, sound like this creator, don't do that, stand out, don't be weird, be weirder, do all of the things all at once, and it's super exhausting. And the thing is that most of these are tactical, which means that you can try them, but they're not actually going to fix the problem if your brand doesn't fit first. And when you're trying to put stuff out there that doesn't sound like an idiot and you're already scared, you're going to listen to these things because you think these are going to fix the problem that you're trying to solve. And I know that because I did. I've been a storyteller since I was 6. I wrote my first short story when I was 6, and I've been in marketing for over 30 years, and I still chase the shoulds. I have to actually make sure I don't follow those people on LinkedIn. And actually, when I was a young writer back in my 20s and I started writing to publish, I joined critique groups. And I joined one in particular that I felt like I walked into this critique group. It was an online group, and everyone knew more than I did. Everyone was smarter than I was. They knew how to write better than I did. So I submitted my chapters, and I would get them back filled with red pen track changes, like page after page after page, just nothing but track changes, red pens everywhere. And I accepted them, every single change. And it didn't take long before once I accepted all the changes and I read through the chapters and I was like, I'm not on this page anymore. I have no idea where I'm at. I'm lost. I had completely erased myself by accepting and taking all of the changes and doing all of the things that they told me to do. And I did it again on LinkedIn when I first started trying to find my way. I tried all of it. I overshared, I undershared, I tried things I didn't even enjoy doing and very quickly figured out I didn't like doing. Because the problem is that we often can't see our own stories and our own blind spots. And because of that, we tend to listen to everybody else's version, or we see what success looks like for someone else and their personality and their way of being. And we listen to everybody else's version of what we think that we should do. And that's where we tend to get stuck. Deb says, I feel like my brand is coming together to a good degree, but how do I get viewers to turn into clients? I have a promotion and a call to action. We'll get there, Deb. I have ideas. Okay. The other thing that we often do is we just freeze. We hide. So I did a full-on LinkedIn search to prep for this call and searched, I don't know, 20 to 30 to 50 bookkeeper profiles. Some of you were in that, and some of you, like people I didn't know. So, well, I don't know most of you on here, so it's all brand new to me. But this, you would be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised. These are profiles that I pulled on that random search, just looking up bookkeepers. And I saw this same thing over and over and over again. No photo, no headshot. Everyone said exactly the same words. So even the ones that didn't hide, they still all sound the same. Detail-oriented, QuickBooks certified, multitasking, team player. It ends up looking like Mad Libs, but for LinkedIn profiles. Same exact words, no personality, no person to see who's in here. And the problem with this is that when you hide or when you blend in, your potential clients are going to make assumptions. They're going to assume you're new. They're going to assume that you're not confident. They're going to assume that you're just like everyone else. So when they're making that assumption, they're going to pick based on one thing that has an emotional trigger for them. And I know that I've heard from a lot of bookkeepers in the past that you fight the feeling of feeling like a commodity, which means that you're fighting that price battle oftentimes. And this is one of those reasons why you end up fighting at price level, because it's an emotional trigger. And if there aren't any other emotional triggers for them to hook onto, that's the one that remains. If your profile isn't even at table stakes levels with others, you're missing out on those clients that are going to connect to you. So building a brand, this is the other thing, isn't just about creating a pretty profile. And so we can definitely create a profile on LinkedIn or any other platform that you have and really focus on that. But what it truly is a promise. What you're putting out there is your promise. You're making a promise to the clients or the people that are going to visit you. You're making a promise of stories that you're going to tell, of an emotional connection with them, of a sense of connection, of a sense of belonging, that they're going to feel like they can connect with you in that way. And the other piece of that is that brand is how your audience is perceiving everything that you're putting out there. So when we look at that photo, I'm sure everyone on here knows Princess Diana, and you automatically, before I even say a word, you have a feeling about her. And you look at this photo and you can see her little black dress is an extension of her. So one thing that I always find really interesting, we sit in a way that feels comfortable to us. I want you guys to look at that photo and I want you to try to mimic her posture. Mimic her presence. Like sit up straighter, do whatever it is that you feel that you're going to do to pull in the dress, the posture, the confidence, the energy that she's bringing in. That's brand. That energy that she creates that we can pull into ourselves, that is part of the brand. It is the perception that we are building about who she is. Perception is built in what they trust to be true about you. And here's the thing about trust. Trust is built on patterns, which means that we need to know what the patterns are, and we need to know the person behind the brand in order to build a pattern of understanding. Knowing is not logical, though. This is the thing that I think a lot of people think that everyone makes logical decisions, but we don't. Knowing is not logical. It's actually neurological. Our brands are little prediction machines. They are constantly seeking out patterns. And when we find one, when our brain gets it right, we get that little dopamine hit that goes, yep, I got that. So like when you see the Nike swoosh, or when Cindy sees the magical Disney castle, or for me, like when the Gilmore Girls theme song comes on, you guys all have one for yourself that you immediately are like, oh, your brain goes, I recognize that. I know that. But you don't have to think that way. You just feel it in your body. That is your brain saying, I've seen this. I've seen enough of it. I know this, and I feel safe in this moment. I feel safe here. The moment that we encounter anything, whether it's a person, a post, or a brand, our brain is running this little background code that is asking, have I seen this before? Do I understand and know what comes next? Can I predict that? And is this safe to trust? So I want you to stop for a minute and I want you to imagine your own LinkedIn profile. Now you've created a post recently. Someone sees your post, whatever your last post was. They liked it. They clicked see more, which it's 90% of the battle to get them to do that in the first place. They like the post and then they go and it resonates with them and they like what they see. And so they click on your profile. Now, the emotional tone that you've created in your post, does that match in your profile? Imagine that they click there and nothing matches. The tone is different. The visual style is different. The message is different. Depending on what the through line is on the things that you're talking about, maybe it doesn't connect at all to what you actually have on your profile about what you do or who you are. Their brain will have a hard time finding that connection. And when the brain can't predict what's next, it won't build trust. And then it just moves on. And so this goes a little bit into the concept of turning viewers into clients, kind of to talk to Deb's point a little bit. Part of what you want to make sure is that you are making every decision that your viewer needs to make as simple, as easy as possible to build a pattern recognition way of being. So everything that they look on you adds to the pattern that they understand. And they can say, yep, I get who this person is. I get how they can help me. And I get why I want to stay here. And it's actually a lot easier than you think to lose those patterns as well. Because this isn't just a lost impression. It could be a lost client. It could be somebody that, really is looking for a bookkeeper and they've moved on because they can't quite land on who you are and how you can help them in the right way. But when you show up consistently, you have the same tone, the same values, you have a same emotional through line that resonates with them and pulls them in, their brain is going to say, yep, I get that pattern. And this is the magic of pattern recognition. I'm a huge story science nerd and a brain science nerd, so if I go a little overboard in that, apologies. But this is the magic of what I love about this part. Pattern recognition feels like familiarity. So your brain starts recognizing the patterns, and you start to feel more familiar. That person starts to feel more familiar to you, and we automatically have a tendency to believe in and like and want to work and be around the people that we feel familiar with. So familiarity starts to feel like trust. And that's what is going to make somebody choose you over 3 other bookkeepers who might say similar things, have similar profiles, but are cheaper. People talk a lot about consistency. And I know that it tends to say you have to post 3 times a week. You have to post this, that you have to do this, you have to do that. This is what consistency actually truly means. It is about helping to build pattern recognition across everything that you're doing. And the consistency is the way you show up. It is the way that you put your emotional connection forward and the way that you connect with your potential either viewer or client. And it does take time. This is not something that you can build in one post or even 10 scattered posts. It's going to take time to build this pattern recognition because you can't shortcut trust with one viral moment. The beauty of this, and that I hope everyone will love to hear, is that you don't have to post every day. You don't have to copy everybody's formulas. You don't have to post the exact same hook that everybody else posts because they see success and because they made it go viral. What you do need to make sure that you're able to do is to show up as the same recognizable version of yourself until your audience's brain learns your pattern. And this is probably we'll get a little bit deeper into that. You need to be really clear on your brand. That's how you do that, is to be really clear on what fits you and how you show up. So that brings us to my little black dress roll and why I called it the little black dress roll. Because when your brand story fits, you wear it with confidence. So if you think about when you pull out that little black dress or whatever outfit it is that makes you feel like your absolute best, you wear it with confidence. You walk differently, you enter a room differently, you feel differently, you look at everything around you differently. Fit gives you the confidence. Confidence creates consistency. Consistency creates patterns. Patterns build trust. And finding that fit is the key. Now, before we pop into how you actually look at this rule, is there anyone who has questions or wants to jump in?
So I was in one career area for 33 years, and I've been on LinkedIn for quite a few years, but Like all my endorsements, all my recommendations, all those things are from my old career. And generally they speak to my, brand, my personality, because I don't believe in inauthenticity at all. I can't maintain it. I don't want anything to do with it. But I wonder, I wonder if some of that, I mean, I've raised my visibility from 50 people to 100 people when I switched into bookkeeping. Now I've got thousands of views on some of my things, and I'm getting much better engagement. And instead of 4 followers, I have, I think, 300 now.
That's great.
But I'm wondering, should I go back and remove some of my posts? They're all fine. I don't mind anybody seeing them. I've never said anything that I won't stand up and say in church, but I wonder if sometimes I share things that are kind of raw, and it's mostly to my veteran community and military spouses, and they'll get it, but I don't want to alienate those outside of that community.
I think it is a really great question. And especially with the raw and vulnerable posts, this is something that everyone has to decide what's too raw for them and what's too vulnerable. If you're questioning the posts, there's a possibility that you're questioning it because it felt a little more raw than you want to be. And that's just something to ask yourself and consider. If where I would look at, as far as deleting things that you've already posted, one of the coaches that I have shared something that I think is really a really great way to look at this. If somebody were to land, an ideal client were to land on your profile, and they were to dig down the rabbit hole of every post you've ever created, what is the transformation you would want them to have? What is the thing that you would want them to feel, understand, know, or see differently if they looked at your last 90 days of content?
Okay, so
For
you're
them to
not
do that,
asking.
they're already invested in you as a person.
Mhm.
So that's where you can kind of think through, what are the things that I think make sense for me to keep versus does this fit that transformation that I want them to really identify with, the person that is landing who I want to contact me on this profile?
Mhm.
And is all of this in support of that in the best way?
Okay, so when you say the transformation, you're talking about my audience's,
Yep.
the viewers' transformation, not the
Yes.
transformation they saw from me.
Correct. Yeah, their transformation. What is it that you want them to come away from by
Okay.
following you and digging into your content? So that is, basically with your LinkedIn profile, and we can get into this work, like the tactical pieces of LinkedIn at the end too. Your LinkedIn profile is going to attract a couple of people. You want it to attract your ICP first and foremost. Most of the time, they're never going to be the ones that comment on your posts. So you also need to build in a level of engagement through peers and people that are like-minded and that share a similar audience to you. And if that is where you will honestly tend to get people that will interact and engage with posts a little bit more often. But you want the ICP, the client that you actually want to engage with you to, like, imagine the person you want to click on message or whatever your action is and contact you for work or for business or to talk to you. What is the thing you want them to walk away from if they were to follow you in 90 days? And figure out what that is and make sure all of your posts match that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. All right. So into how do we get that
Katie,
fit?
there
Yes.
was one more question, Monica.
Oh, Monica. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm sorry.
Hi.
I wasn't sure if I should wait till the end of the presentation to ask, because maybe you'll answer my question, or if we, what was that?
Go ahead, shoot. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm not a social media lover, I should say, but I'm really trying, and I have started to consistently post. I have a lot of colleagues on my LinkedIn page, but obviously that, I need some clients. And so my holdup is, how do I find and approach potential clients or my ideal clients to follow me? Because I put content and stuff like that they would want to see, but I don't know how to find them and bring them in.
That's a really great question. I think LinkedIn has a really robust search engine. So if you can be a premium user, I think you'll get a little bit more information out of them if you are a premium, but you don't need to be. You can still use their search. And the search will allow you to look by person. It will allow you to look by people that are following a certain person. It'll allow you to look by job title. It'll allow you to look by a lot of different ways. So if you've identified your ICP and you know the industry that they're in, you know their most likely job titles, that's one way you can do a search for those particular ones and just send connection requests. And you don't have to include a note with them, just send connection requests to them. And the nice thing is that once you have sent a connection request, you will become an automatic follower of them. So if they're posting content, you'll see it. And that will give you an opportunity to engage with their content. Engaging with other people's content is one of the, I think, the hidden levers that most people don't utilize in order to connect deeper with their audience. And comments are actually being really rewarded on LinkedIn right now. People are getting a lot of views. So that is one area. The other way that you could look at finding them is if you know that there is a thought leader that your ICP is very interested in and reacts to and interacts with a lot on LinkedIn. Usually you're going to want to find not necessarily the biggest LinkedIn influencers because those audiences are crazy. Somebody who's a couple steps down that's more specific to your ICP's industry. Find that follower and then go start reacting and commenting on their posts and see who shows up in the comments. Look for your ICP in the comments. This one is a little bit more of a time commitment and it takes a little bit more time to get there, but it is a really good way to find people that are engaging on LinkedIn, which is really important. You want people that are already authentically engaging in order to connect with them. And you already know that they're interested in learning whatever this thought leader is teaching that is similar to your space. So those are two different ways that you can really dive in and try to find them on LinkedIn.
Okay, thank you. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to explain at all the, I guess, etiquette between connecting and following.
Okay, let's go ahead and get to the end and we can go through a lot of the LinkedIn tactical platform stuff because I know you guys have a lot of questions and I want to make sure to answer all of those throughout the whole thing.
Just
So,
one
yeah.
thing. Can you just say what ICP stands for? Because you mentioned it a few times.
Yes, apologies for that. ICP is Ideal Customer Profile. And so that is basically the one person, if you can imagine the one person that you would like to have as a client over and over and over again. There's a lot of ways that people can say this is what your ICP is. I think of it that way. The person who brings you energy, the one that you love to serve, the one that if you see their name in your email, you get excited to talk to them. So for me, Cindy, when I see Cindy's email and I love that. So that's what an ICP should feel like. It's not just demographics. It's someone that brings you energy to serve. So imagine who that person is and you can build a profile from that. Okay, so we're going to dig into the LBD framework and basically how do you go about finding the right brand fit to help you show up on a platform correctly to start. And then all the tactical stuff after that will actually help you grow from there. This is all the foundational pieces. It comes down to three things. It's going to be how you show up, how you tell your story, and how you build that trust over time. And this also will help you with algorithms because algorithms are also pattern recognizer systems. They're looking for patterns in order to determine what you talk about, who wants to see that, and who you're going to be most helpful to. So the first one is how you show up. What is the fit? Your story is actually going to show up before anyone reads a word. We've talked a little bit about that. It shows up visually. You've got about 3 seconds when someone lands on your profile for them to make a decision and build an impression. So think of it kind of like the opening scene of a movie. That opening 30 seconds sets a tone, sets a feel. You can tell by the way they've color graded everything and the music, you know what you're in for. And you can make that decision yep, this is the energy of the movie I want to participate in, or nope, I don't want to be here at all. So your profile is going to work very similarly and that quickly. And it breaks down into 3 things: presence, consistency, and experience match. On the present side, every detail that you have is going to help set the tone. That means everything from your headline to your banner to your about section to the things that you put in your featured section to the style, the colors, the graphics, and how you are funneling people to actually take action with you. All of those things are going to work in conjunction and build something that helps build a pattern recognition that matches. That's where the consistency piece of this comes in. You want to make sure that you are creating a repeated, recognizable pattern that will help build familiarity. And again, this is going to come through, does the post style match the colors? Do the colors match the graphics? Do the graphics match the visuals on your profile? And does all of that match the tone and the way that you talk, and the way that you present your information? And the last piece of this that I think a lot of people don't necessarily think through is that experience match. What people see online has to match the experience that they have with you in real life. That is one of the biggest disconnects and the biggest pattern breakers. So this is where a lot of people will get tripped up. If you're high energy in person, let's say that you're like super high energy and that's how you come to every call full of just energy and bubbly and everything, but your profile is buttoned up corporate blue and has really formal language, that's a mismatch. And on the flip side, if you're more of a calm, steady person and you have bright reds and in your face words on that profile, mismatch. Not building pattern recognition. The brain is going to struggle with this. They're going to know something's off, even if they are not quite able to name it. So whatever your personal mix is, that's how you should show up online. That's how you choose your colors. That's how you choose your power words. And I'll get into those in a minute. Because we don't just choose expertise. If we chose expertise, all of the basic, here's what I do words for bookkeepers or accountants would all be the same. We choose energy. That's how we make decisions. If your energy online doesn't match who you are in person, then you're not going to be building trust. You're just going to be creating additional confusion. I see a question in here. Hold on, let me see. Jessica, do you recommend that firm owners handle their own LinkedIn posts rather than passing this off to a member of their staff who's handling social media or marketing in their firm? That is a really great question. You've probably all seen that founder-led social content, especially on LinkedIn, is the thing that everybody is doing because it's the thing that's getting traction. I will, if you are struggling to figure out where to put your energy, I'm going to tell you this. Stop putting energy into a company social page on LinkedIn because it is getting 0 views unless you put ads to it. It is not going to help you build any kind of a business. On the founder-led side, your personal profile as the founder of your own company is going to be the place that is going to build trust the best. I think you can absolutely pass this off to a member of the staff once you have set your brand fit. Once you know exactly how to show up, once you know exactly how to sound, you make sure that your colors and your tone and all of the pieces tell the same story. And so that you are able to build that pattern recognition. Because once you have that brand story and you have a brand guide and a document that your team can use, they can build off of that. And so at that point, it becomes rather than you having to come up with everything, you have a brand document you can hand your team, and you can just be the initial checker to make sure it sounds like you and that it fits. And then eventually they'll get better and better, and you won't have to be involved at all. So that's a way to be able to shift that over to a team. But at first, you have to be the one to make sure you're really clear and good with what you've got. Does that make, I'm not, who asked the question? That was Jessica, right? Does that answer your question, Jessica?
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, so the next one is the story. We're kind of where we were just like that. You've nailed the visuals. Let's say that they match, the energy is strong, and then they get to your about section, and you sound like every other bookkeeper on every other platform. So, or worse, it's clear that AI wrote it and you didn't. And I will say, like, I love AI. I use AI every day, and I use it to write content. I use it as a sparring partner. I use it to improve. I use it to help me plan. But AI can be very much like that critique partner I had when I was a younger writer that will red pen everything and erase your entire voice and your tone. It will create a tone for you if you are not careful. And if you are not feeding it with a really strong brand narrative up front, you're going to end up with content from AI that sounds like everybody else. And that's not going to help. So one of the places where people often lose here in telling the story is that your visuals might say, I'm warm and approachable. And then the copy in your about section says something like leveraging synergistic solutions to optimize blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Like nobody even knows what any of those words mean, but it's a huge mismatch. And again, pattern recognition, we need to be able to build the pattern and we need to be able to see the pattern, and everything that we look at needs to check a box on that pattern. So when it comes to the telling the story, you want to make sure that the voice, does the writing sound like you? The emotion, are you creating the emotions that you want them to feel with your words? This is where I love the term power words, because there are certain words that we read that have a visceral reaction in our body. When we see the word joy, when we see the word fear, when we see certain words that have an emotional, tangible emotional feeling to them, oftentimes, and actually I will say, like earlier on with me, I realized that sometimes when I was just starting my launching my own business, even though I have 30 years of experience in marketing, launching your own business is a whole different story. Like that's a whole different set of skills that I had to figure out. So a lot of my content was uncertain. because I was uncertain. I was building this whole new muscle that I didn't understand, but I was talking about marketing and I was building an emotional connection that was not what I wanted them to feel. And so this is where you think about those emotional trigger words that you're creating. Do you want to establish warmth? Do you want to build authority? Do you want to create a sense of calm? You want to make sure that it's matching the energy that you create. And this is the other piece about telling your story. Are you offering specific moments? A lot of times we will say, I did this one thing, 5 years ago, but instead, you want to make sure that you're sharing a specific moment. So even in the story that I offered earlier with my husband or with my writer, I gave you a very specific moment. My husband was leaning over my shoulder as I was building this, and that's why he asked that question. You're going to be a lot more likely to remember that story. Or with my writer critique group, I got a page back and I looked at that page and it was full of red. You're going to be a lot more likely to remember that story because I added a specific moment to share. And so you want to look at the moments that are going to be your origin story, that are going to show your mission, your obstacles, your learning curves, your turning points, your values, your feelings, your world in general. Okay. And so this is the last one. You finally get both right. Your visuals match, your words sound like you feel good about it. I'm just doing a quick time check. But then you end up posting once, maybe twice, and then you stop because you're not really sure. And you don't want to repeat yourself. You don't want to be annoying. This is something I hear all the time. I don't want to annoy people. I don't want to just be repetitive. So the pattern actually never forms because this is the thing that is really great and it's going to feel really weird. I once read that you should share your message so much that you get tired of saying it. Like you get so tired of saying it. Because when you're actually tired of saying it, that is the point your audience is actually starting to hear it. They're not going to hear it before then. Because it takes a lot of change, a lot of touch points, and a lot of repetition for our brains to get the pattern. And so for this group, it's not necessarily you don't want to be known as a bookkeeper because there's thousands of bookkeepers. You want to find the things that you can be known for that are uniquely yours. What are your hobbies, your personality, the story that you want to bring into why you built your business in the first place? The repetition about this isn't necessarily about your title. It's about repeating a truth that people remember about you, becoming known for that truth. And say it over and over again until your audience can quote you. And alignment, this goes back to the thing, making sure that everything that you're doing matches that one truth that you want people to remember. If your brand says clarity, your entire funnel should be super easy and clear, for example. And then reliability, showing up regularly. This isn't where you have to post 7 days a week or 7 days a week or 3 times a day or whatever it might be. You need to find the things that you can reliably, consistently connect to. If that's twice a week, then just post twice a week to start. Because I guarantee you, as you do that on a consistent basis and your brand fits, it will get easier and easier, and then you'll be able to add more time. But if you start at 7 days a week and you don't really know what your brand fit is and you're struggling, it's going to exhaust you much faster and you're going to burn out on your content. Okay, so I pulled these from some real LinkedIn profiles from bookkeepers, and there might be a couple of you in here. My question, and you can put it in the chat or you can say it out loud. What would you believe is true about any one of these? Okay. Don't think too hard. Remember, this is like a 3-second rule. Okay. Somebody wrote they like to travel. Another one said they seem fun with colorful one. I would be turned off by the last one. The middle one likes travel. That's excellent. Service business. So the one thing that I find that is hard is an emotional truth in here. This is still a little bit of a sea of sameness because we're getting random pictures, and the one on the bottom, to somebody's point, they didn't like that one. I think because that one is very much like, it is overwhelming. That is a lot of words in one thing. But what we're not seeing here is a belief system. We're not seeing a strong point of view. I'm not seeing a person in any of these. And so some of these can also work against you. For example, the one that says, somebody likes travel. What if you don't like travel? But that's the image that you have, so you created a mismatch. Or if you're a really calm personality, but the second one is yours, and that one's a little bit busier and a more higher energy, that would be a mismatch. So you want to make sure that you can't interchange these with anyone else and that you wouldn't know the difference. And by the way, I will also add that logos can tell that same sea of sameness story. And that's because everybody has a logo in whatever in bookkeeping or accounting that uses similar words. And so that is not necessarily showing the person. And you can't really determine what a logo believes. What do they think about money? What do they think about business? How do they think bookkeeping should feel? What do they want their clients to say? A logo doesn't always do a very good job of sharing that. It can when you match it with other pieces, but by itself, it's not always the best thing to match that. If our profile picture has our photo, does the banner need our image too? I think that is going to be a comfort level. I think if you are a speaker, if you are somebody who is on stage, yes, your presence and your physicality of showing you in those moments does need to have your profile picture on the header. Most of the time, I don't think it's necessary, especially if your headshot is strong enough and it's well centered and the colors and everything matches. I don't think that you need an added photo on there. I'm only just now noticing that one at the top. Totally not noticeable. Yes. That is very true. Okay. So here's another thing that, as I mentioned, I looked through probably 30 to 50 different bookkeeper profiles on LinkedIn while I was prepping for this. And all of these words I saw multiple times across almost every profile. Not every profile, but almost every profile. So it comes to the point when if you have, let's say that you've got one of those headers and now all the words that are on your profile are this list of words, you kind of leveled your bar again to the baseline. There's nothing about you that stands out. And so again, we get back to that point. What is the only thing with emotional weight that someone's going to make a decision on? Price. Because they don't have anything else to anchor to. And we make decisions on emotion. This is a thing I think a lot of people misunderstand. That first decision that we make to choose a service, a product, whatever it is, that is an emotional decision. And then we immediately back that up with logic to prove us right and to make sure we feel good about the emotional decision that we just made. So if you don't have anything that is an emotional anchor on your profile for somebody to connect to, they're going to go to the one thing that they do feel emotional about, which is price. And if everyone is saying these words, then that must mean it's table stakes, right? That's the bare minimum. That's what everybody should be. And so what do I actually judge you on? If I don't know what matters to you, then I'm going to judge on the things that matter to me. And that might not necessarily be the way that you want me to see. I am just outside. Martha has a question. I'm just outside NYC. How do I show up at the top of the search results, be it LinkedIn or Google? For LinkedIn, I don't know that you can really control that. LinkedIn is going to show based on your connections on the search engines. But make sure that I would say, instead of depending on what you have in LinkedIn, if you've put your exact city, your smaller city as where you're from rather than the New York area, I would change that to the New York area because you'll get a broader mix. That would be one little tactical thing that you could change. Okay, so on the next slide, we're going to have you guys play a game. There's a lot of words on the next slide. And I want you to find two phrases. One is, hey, I really like that. And the other one is, oh, sorry, my dog is saying she really likes that too. And the second one I want you to find in this sea of phrases on the next slide is, nope, that is definitely not me. So just go ahead and look for it. Ready? Go ahead. And go ahead and write them down or throw them in the chat, whatever you want to do. More seconds. Everybody have them? It doesn't have to be perfect. The one that you're like, hey, I kind of like that is good enough. And the one that you're like, that is definitely not me. That one's probably easier to spot. Okay. Awesome. Jessica said, the bookkeeper who turns numbers into calm sounds boring, but I like the big numbers and cannot lie is funny. Excellent. So the boring one is probably, nope, definitely not you. That would be what I would say there. Deb said, like purpose-driven, not bilingual anymore. Ellen said, systems whisper, calm your chaos, concierge. Peg English said, the garden grows I like. The dancing bookkeeper for Martha. Oh, hi, Cindy. I didn't know Cindy Hovig was in here. I like future-focused bookkeeper. Carmen, the people first bookkeeper. Excellent. Okay. And I'll pull that back if anybody still needs to figure it out. So this is part of how you find your fit. You've got the one that said, yep, I kind of like that one. And the one that was like, didn't really like that at all. So here's what to do with it. The yes one tells you where your energy lives. And it's not perfect. It might not be what you land on, but it gives you an idea and a place to start. So it tells you what kind of energy you want to show up as naturally. And that could be tone, audience, personality, promise, whatever that is. On the other side, the nope, definitely not me. Those are your boundaries. Those are the things you don't want to be. And for someone said, this one sounded boring. You don't want to be boring. That tells you a lot. So your energy level is not going to be boring. What specifically felt wrong? The energy level, the audience, the combination. Deb said, I love the dancing bookkeeper, but that makes me think of Nancy McClelland. That is a great point. Right now, like I said, these don't necessarily have to be something you're going to adopt, but there's something about that energy that you love. So, and if you do love to dance, then there might be another way to frame that in. If you don't love to dance, okay, Deb's saying, no, I don't love to dance. So there's something about the dancing bookkeeper energy that you love. And that's the thing to cue into and figure out what that is. It doesn't mean it has to be a literal dancing accountant if somebody else already owns that, but you can use that as a way to like harness that energy and say, okay, I like to be more upbeat. I like to move. I like to, like, that's the type of energy I want to bring into the room. There are other ways to kind of work through that energy level. So once you've got your, yep, this is me energy and your, nope, definitely not me boundary, then the magic comes in when you start adding your skills, your hobbies, your story, your beliefs. So you start to mix in the things that make you you. So for example, if you do love to dance, what does that energy bring into your work? If you are the first woman in your family to get a business degree, how did that impact the audience that you choose to serve? Or let's say that you live for puzzles. I love puzzles. So how does that structure problem solving show up in your work? Those are ways that you can bring those pieces together. And that's how you find your fit. That's how you bring your brand together, because your brand is not just you being a bookkeeper. It is not just you solving business problems for people. It is all of you. It is the pieces of the puzzle that make up who you are and how you move through the day. It's also where authentic lives. And like when I think of the word authentic, it's way buzzy word of it. But to me, that means that nobody can replicate it. So if I'm posting something that I feel is really authentic to me, that means that nobody can replicate it. Sure, they could copy and paste it, but it doesn't mean that it would be authentic to them because it's just me. So one of the things that we did is we actually have been working on Cindy's profile. And so this is Cindy's profile, and she came to me at the first one. And one of the things that when she and I talked about what was not working and working for her profile is she said that she really wanted to focus on the community. She has her Bright bookkeeping business, but that's not the thing that she wanted to really focus on and draw attention to on LinkedIn. And so we went to work on figuring out how do we pull the signals together. When you look at the signals on her earlier page, the signals were a little bit mismatched. She had a bookkeeping business logo. There was a Mouseketeer call out that wasn't clear where that fit into anything. And her post, there were some inspiration posts, some membership call outs, but there wasn't a whole through line that made all of this make sense. And so when you're looking for pattern recognition, you had multiple different directions that didn't come together at the time. And so what we did instead was we pulled all of the pieces up into one puzzle and basically turned her profile into a place where she could really focus on the Bookkeeping Buds community. And we built her a profile that tells the story of this is an expert bookkeeper who loves Disney, who actually built a work-life balance to support her life, not the other way around, who brings brightness to everyone that she meets, is very intentional about what she builds, and created a community to help others find the success she did. And those are the people she wants to talk to. Those are the people she wants to draw in. Before, it was just a bookkeeper with a logo. And now after, it is the bookkeeper Mouseketeer who built a really bright community that helps people. And so that is a part of what we did in making that transition. I'm just looking at time and I know we are at 8 minutes. So we can go, Cindy, one of two ways. We can go through the 3 profile audits that I have, or we can go into the Q&A. What do you prefer?
Yeah, I think the audits, are you able to stay on longer?
I am.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I know some of you may need to jump off at the top of the hour, so feel free. But I want to take advantage of Jeannie being here because this is such great information,
Okay.
and you will all get the total recording after the call. So yeah, let's not worry about time then.
Okay. If there's anyone who does need to jump off in 7 minutes, do you have a question that's burning in your mind right now?
Or if you just want to put it in the chat and then we can
Or if you
get
just want to
it.
put it in the chat and I can make sure that we get to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So what I did was talking to Cindy, I went through and I found 3 of you lovely ladies in this group and did a quick cold read on profiles. And so we're going to dig right in. So I don't know if Regina is on the call, but if you are, thank you for being my first one. So when I was looking at Regina's profile, and I'm looking at this probably the same way that your audience is looking at this. I don't know you guys, most of you. And so when I drop onto a LinkedIn page, it's very much a cold read. And I'm just I'm looking for emotional anchors. I'm looking for an understanding. I'm looking for a way to figure out if we would be a good fit and trying to look at it from a client perspective. And so when I was looking at this, some of the things that I were seeing, I can tell business solutions, and this is pulling out of specific words. When I look at what you do in emotional, I'm pulling off words that are actually on the profile because that's how people skim. They're going to skim for the words that answer questions in their head and that start to build patterns. So in the what you do, business solutions, business, managing books, experienced bookkeepers, interpreting key financial reports. On the emotional side, this was one of the things that I felt was a little bit of a mismatch, but we can definitely talk through if that makes sense. The business name is ASAP Business Solutions. And to me, that means fast. Let's get this done really quickly. Let's do this on an urgent basis. And then some of the emotional phrasings that I found were make a difference, take the stress out, free your time, and then accomplish more. So there was a little bit of a block, I would say. Not necessarily a block, but not a pattern that I can build on. Trying to figure out what those patterns are. If the business is ASAP, but you're telling me to take the stress out and be calm. So it just feels like something that we can clarify a little bit better there. And the energy level that I'm feeling here is a little bit hidden. I would say the person is missing a little bit from the profile. And the other piece of this was that there was no clear action step for me to take. Like, how do you want, if they're perfect client, think about your perfect client. That one person that if you could talk to them every day and you could work with them every day, if they landed here and they wanted to contact you, what do you want them to do? That should be like the easiest step possible on your profile. And so don't think of everybody in the world. Think of that one person whose energy you love and energy matches you. This is what you're building for. You're building for that one person and making sure that they feel everything that they're supposed to feel. A couple of the other places where just small, tiny details can help build pattern or can stop a pattern from building. ASAP Business Solutions was the name in the header. And then the name in the experience was ASAP VA LLC without a logo. And when I clicked on it, there was no company page there. So again, back to just building patterns and making it easy for the brain to go, yep, I get this. This matches, this matches, this. Oh, wait, this doesn't match. And now I stop. So that's how our brains work when we're thinking of this. And it takes milliseconds. So you want to make sure that that brain can just be like, yep, this matches. I feel good. I know who this is. I feel safe here. And I'm good with it. And then the only other person is that the person isn't on the page. There's no post. So I would love to see for all of you lovely, wonderful people who are smart and intelligent and have incredible businesses and have built businesses who have so much to offer. Everybody here has so much to offer. I want to see you on your profile. I want to see who you are as a person. Okay, so if Regina is here, if she wants to ask any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm just looking through the scrolling.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you so
Hi.
much.
Hi, Regina.
I so
Thank you for
appreciate
being my
this.
first guinea pig without knowing you were going to be my first guinea pig.
That's okay. I'm just so grateful. I mean, this is
Yeah.
amazing. So yeah, everything you say is like right on point. I totally, from your presentation to looking at this, I'm like, absolutely, this makes total sense. And I've been having such hard problems just technically getting my post to post with a picture, and like it's just been a technical nightmare for me at the moment. But it's so interesting that the emotion that I'm trying to project is totally not projecting.
Oh, that's okay. What emotion do you want
Yeah.
to project? I would
Well,
love
that's
to know that.
interesting because as I've kind of grown in my business, first of all, it's like get the business up and running and you're wearing all the hats. And marketing is kind of the last thing. Like my business has grown very organically. So I really hadn't had to put a lot of time and effort into marketing. But now that I'm in a position to scale, I'm like, okay, now I've got to focus on this. So again, it was not done with a lot of thought. And I can totally see how I am one of the many, and my personality is not coming out. I come from a very corporate background. So I tend to be a little more close to the vest, and have that corporate appearance, which is really not who I am. So it's really very freeing for you to say, oh, I can put my personality on there.
Yes.
I can put my
You
handprint
absolutely
on there.
should put your personality. And I can tell you I mean, I don't know you, but you have a warmth just in this little short conversation that I don't see on this page.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you could absolutely put there.
Yeah,
And
thank
that
you.
will help you come out a lot more. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Thank you
Absolutely.
so, so much. This is great.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's see if there's some questions. What is the etiquette for Monica? What is the etiquette between following versus connecting? Oh, I'm going to hold all of the, keep adding your LinkedIn profile platform specific questions in, and we'll get to that at the very end so I can go through all of those at once. Algorithm, yeah, we'll get to all of those at the end. Okay. Any other questions from anyone on this? Otherwise, I will move to the next guinea pig. Right. Okay, here's the next one. This is Monica Davis. Is Monica on the call?
Yes,
Hi,
I am.
Monica. Yay,
Yeah.
hello. Awesome. Okay, so first, I loved your headline, The Bookkeeping Lifesaver for Overwhelmed Service-Based Business Owners. I love that. That is very unique, and that is really great. When I landed on your page, I also like the fact that your colors match your website. So there's definitely a consistency level there, which is really nice. When I looked at what you do, I could see Bookkeeper, QuickBooks Pro Advisor. That was very quick and easy to see. On the emotional connection side, this is where I think you might be presenting a little bit differently than you want. What I got from emotional words were, and these were the words that I saw in your profile itself, were virtual, lifesaver, overwhelmed, single mother, uncertain job market, daunting, passion. So that tends to feel like an overwhelmed perspective. That was, that was the impression that I got. And you want them to know they don't have to be overwhelmed. You don't want them to feel you are overwhelmed. And so I think there's a little bit of an emotional disconnect that you could shift there a little bit. The action next step, I think that could be a little bit clearer, especially in your featured, make it super easy for them to know exactly how to reach you. And in the featured section, add something to your website if that's the best way to contact you, or if you have a blog post that you think is going to help them stop being overwhelmed, like that would be something that would be great. 5 things you can do to stop feeling overwhelmed about your books today. Grab this lead magnet. That would be a really great way thing. And this also kind of goes in the overwhelmed feeling. The content was a little bit of scattered topics, not necessarily as calming. And so, and the other piece that I would also say is the journey that you listed in your about was there was a lot of really good elements of your story there, but I didn't necessarily see that in the posts as well. And and again, when I talk about mismatches, I'm just looking at from the brain being able to build that consistent pattern. And anytime the brain is going to go, wait, that's not consistent. This isn't part of the pattern. Anytime it does that, it's going to stop building that pattern for you. The other thing that I think was there is in your about profile, you mentioned that you were a single mom, but I think you had a post that talked about your husband or your spouse. And so that was a little bit of an unclear, how does that fit? And so just making sure that if you're putting those into your story, which I think are beautiful and absolutely should be a part of your story, making sure that you thread the full thread. And the other thing that you noted here that I got a feeling for is like your passion is to help businesses, but the featured section is all about your business, not about them. And so I think there's some work here that you can do that will shift that a little bit. And on the content side, when you're talking as the lifesaver for somebody who's super overwhelmed, imagine, and you guys are probably going to feel this a little bit after this conversation that I've had with you. Marketing is hard it's hard for everybody. It's even hard for marketers. We're terrible marketers for ourselves. We'll just say that. But if I throw, which I know I've thrown a lot of information, you probably aren't going to walk away from this saying, I don't feel overwhelmed. You're probably going to walk away from this saying, wow, that was a lot of information that I need to absorb and I need to go back and think about this. That's what you're going to be thinking. So if you've got someone that you have a business owner who is overwhelmed and you're saying, here's 5 things to do today, here's 4 things to do tomorrow, this is what's causing you a problem, do this instead, you're adding to the overwhelm. You're not pulling away from it. So it's a way to think about your content in a little bit of a different way. Like I said, I love the bookkeeping lifesaver. That is so visceral. I can snapshot that in my head and immediately say for overwhelmed service business owners, I know exactly who you're talking about, and I would know if that's me. So now everything that you add to it just has to say, I see you, I get you, I am your lifesaver, which means I'm going to be a place that can help you not feel overwhelmed. And so that's a little bit of a different approach.
Amazing. You're going to tell us how we can work with you at the end too, right?
Yes, we have something for you at the end. Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Do you have any questions, Monica?
No,
Okay.
not on the group call. No.
Okay, that sounds good. See if those are still LinkedIn questions. We'll hold those to the end. Okay, I'm on to the last one. And this is Dawn. And I do believe Dawn was on the call. Hi, Don. Hi. Thank you so much for being my third guinea pig. And I know you guys didn't volunteer to be my guinea pig, so thank you for being not unvolunteered. Okay, so when I came to look at this one, and again, these were I chose ones that who people I didn't know. What I see, what you do, bookkeeping, financial education, published business, professional, finance. So right there, I feel a little bit of a pattern stop interruption. Bookkeeping and financial education without really clearly knowing the purpose of this profile, I wouldn't know who you're talking to. And so that was one of the things like when you're looking, and yes, your profile can talk to a lot of people, but you want to think about who is the person you want to take action on your profile. Who is the person you want to reach out to you and say, I want to work with you, or I want to do whatever it is with you. Like that's the person you should be building this profile in mind for. So if that's the bookkeeping business, you should focus really deeply on the bookkeeping business and who you serve. If that's the financial education side, that should be what you're building into. This one, I will say, and I say this with love for everybody in this room, I feel like you're hiding a little bit behind the words on this profile. And I can also say that because when I saw you join the call and you had this big, huge smile on your face and you seemed really warm and very like connected, I didn't get that person when I looked at this profile at all. And Cindy will tell you, like I will make people feel vulnerable while they're doing this because it is the best way that we can get you on the page in a way that feels authentic, but that you also love and feel good about. That's the whole point of this. There's a lot of big words on this page and a lot of keywords. And so when I looked at the mismatch on the emotional side, there were only two places where I actually found and pulled out an emotional word. One of them was diverse. The other one was in your tagline where you says yours didn't, mine did. That does create a bit of an emotional trigger. So I think it's just making sure you know what emotions you want to create in people. The energy felt, because the words were more formal, it felt more academic. And so I think there's a way that we could, pull you into the profile a lot more clearly. And then I think the other thing from a mismatch in the brain being able to build that pattern recognition is I love the name Virtually Dawn, but your purple and pink, that's not what I would associate with dawn. Like I associate dawn as in sunrise or sunset or whatever that might be. So I think there's a visual color connection that you could make that would make the brain understand that a little bit more clearly. And then this just goes to, is the goal to provide services or is the goal to provide teaching? And instead just making sure that you're really clear on what you want that to be. And then the other thing from a content perspective, and I think I mentioned this earlier on, right now, LinkedIn is not serving company pages at all. And the only way that you're going to get traction from most people on a company page is by paying for ads. And so if you're posting content, I would lean much more heavily into posting the from the founder profile than from a company page. Have a company page just so it's there. And then you could add just a couple of posts so that if somebody lands there, they can see kind of basics. Like if you go to mine, the content motive, you'll just see like 5 or 6 GIFs because I was like, I know nobody's ever going to come here, but if you do, I just want to make you laugh. That's my goal. So find like just a couple of things that you can add to that page for the people that do actually land there. But the content that you post is not going to go out into the world unless you are actually paying for ads on your page. So I would shift your focus to posting as you. And that means bringing you into the page, talking about you more, sharing those tips, and really honing in on, are you talking to a customer that wants bookkeeping services? Are you talking to that non-finance manager? Who is it that you're trying to talk to specifically? And I think once you kind of land on some of those things, you'll be able to come out more clearly and see more of that warmth and more of the person that I saw when you first joined the call. Any questions? I know it was a lot.
I hate social media, so the fact that I have one of these pages at all is actually like
That's impressive though that you have a page.
That's a big deal for me. So
yeah. So I think that is a big deal. And I think, and that makes sense because when you say that, like you're not really present on the page. So it does feel a little bit more like a brochure. And so that is coming across. If you want, and I guess the choice there is for you if you really want to use LinkedIn as a place to leverage business and to leverage whatever your goals are, then this is a place where you're going to need to step up a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And like, trust me, when I started posting for my own business, I did the corporate thing. I came from 25 years of corporate marketing, and it's still taking me months to rewire that corporate brain. and to get out of that mindset. And so me posting on LinkedIn and sharing personal stories and sharing things for me, it was not easy and it is hard. I am not a trauma dumper. I don't like to do those things. So I really get that I get that perspective completely. When you find a way to position yourself in a way that fits and feels like you, I guarantee you this will feel easier and you won't hate it as much. You might still hate it a little, but you won't hate it quite as much. So, okay. So here is the things that will change when you do find your fit. Your content will get easier, I promise you, because you won't have to think about it so hard. Showing up will get easier. The right clients will find you because you stand out. They will know what action to take. You will begin to build momentum, which makes all the rest of this easier. And you will stop apologizing for taking up space on LinkedIn because you deserve to be there. And you will become the bookkeeper that your right client thinks of her. So, does any of that sound appealing to anyone here? Yes, excellent. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Deb, for coming. So, and you guys can all reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I do have a program at the end, so we'll make sure that you guys get access to that. And actually, let me just jump to that really quick. We have a profile intensive for bookkeeping buds that we're putting out an offer. It would be a group coaching for 6 weeks that we can work through. So Cindy and I will make sure everybody has access to this offer, and you guys can take a look and decide if you want to do it. And I know that we're coming up on January, which is the busiest month of the year for everybody in this room. So offering 2 options. We could kickstart it in December, or we could kickstart it off in February. So we'll all work with Cindy to make sure this gets out in front of you guys, and anyone who's interested, we can work together to figure out a really good time. But the idea is here over 6 weeks, we would help you get a profile that doesn't sound like everyone else. We will workshop it together. I will help coach you through it. We will help build everything for you. And there's an additional optional add-on if you want me to design your graphics and headlines for you, you can do that too. So we will make sure that this gets out to everybody. All right, thanks, Deb. All right. So, questions. And thank you for sticking around for a couple more minutes. Let me scroll back up because I know there's lots of LinkedIn questions, and I think Cindy had sent over a couple ones at the beginning too. Let's see. Let's scroll back up. There we go. Okay, Monica, what is the etiquette between following versus connecting? Also, is commenting on posts better for the algorithm than using the emoji buttons? That is a really great question. So the etiquette for following versus connecting. If you are connecting with somebody, they will see your content, you will see theirs. And so ideally, when I think of the people that I follow, I try to be strategic in a couple of different ways. I try to find people that I would love to work with, who I think would be amazing clients. So after this call, I'm going to connect with every single one of you because I think you guys would all be amazing to work with. I also look for people that are in a similar peer kind of oriented industry as me. Because again, when it comes to interaction on LinkedIn, most of the times your your ideal customer is not going to be the person who responds to your content. I hear it all the time when I get people who reach out to me and said, I love your content. And I'm like, I would never know that because you've never clicked on anything or liked anything or commented on anything. I don't say that, but I always laugh because it happens over and over again. So they're going to read it, they're going to see it, they're not always going to comment on it. So what you want to make sure is that you also have a community aspect of people that are like-minded, sharing a similar audience, or sharing a passion for what you're learning, to where the things that you're talking about, they will engage with, because that gets you engagement, which matters to LinkedIn. If you're following people, those are the people that you really just want to learn from. And it could also be maybe a larger influencer who has an audience that you would like to see you. So this is the other piece that is a strategic aspect. Follow somebody that has an audience that you want to interact with. And you can even tap the bell on their profile to get notified the minute they create a post. And if you add your comment earlier on, you get a chance of getting a lot more impressions. And so this is where LinkedIn can become a funnel. If somebody sees your comment on somebody else's, a bigger influencer's page or on their post, they see your little headline, they'll click to your profile, they'll read your content, and that kind of like helps you get further out in the world beyond your existing funnels and beyond your existing community. Commenting on posts is definitely better for the algorithm than using the emoji buttons. It does pay attention to the algorithm, to the things that you like and the things that you interact with, especially in connection to what you're posting. So the algorithm basically builds a little profile of you. And again, back to the pattern recognition. It is trying to build patterns to understand who you are, how you talk, who you serve, and who is going to be most likely to be interested in your content. And so everything you interact with feeds a little bit into that. So, but the commenting is actually going to serve you a lot better because you're going to get more impressions and you will get wider views from that. Jessica, when it comes to algorithms, do post with images do better, or can you do posts without photos? You can absolutely do posts without photos. I would say use an image only if it matches the emotion in the post. And when you think about the way, like with a post, you have the first two lines and whatever image you use to grab people's attention. And so those things have to stop the scroll. It is the hardest thing to do. Like 80% of the work of any post is that piece. And so do you have to use a selfie? I would, if you're comfortable with them, you can use them however often you want. Just make sure that whatever selfie you're using matches the emotion of the post. You do not have to use them. There are plenty of people that have 60, 70, 80,000 followers that almost never post selfies. So it is not necessary. And I know it goes against a lot of the advice that people say, but because they will say, this is how I grew. I did selfies. I did this every day. I did this every day. That's how they grew. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the only way to grow. So you can absolutely post images without images. Joanna asked, do I ever tag my company page in posts? Not really. I don't, and that's only because the only people that are going to go to my company page are ones that are really, really curious. And there's not a lot at my company page. So I don't spend a lot of time there. Most people don't, because there's like, when your time is so limited, and I know your time is just as limited as mine and what you're able to spend time on, I would much rather see you guys spend all of your time on your personal profile than on your company page, because the personal profile is going to be your biggest chance for growth and scale. So unless you're willing to put ads against the other one. That's why I said add just a couple of things, a couple of posts. You don't need to, it could even be one a month if you want to do that, if you want to keep things updated. But like I haven't posted to my company page in probably 2 months. And the last thing that I posted was a funny GIF with a funny saying. So it's just there so that it's there. Jessica, how do you grow to love social media in the process of building a brand when you hate social media? This is a very good question. I think, well, I will say when one of my clients who I'm working with is a speaker, he hates social media. And he told me that up front. And I told him it was necessary, and he knows it's necessary. And we've started working on his brand. We've started building his message, reshaping his message. He's a speaker. He wants to be seen at a higher level. So we've been reshaping his brand and working through that. He told me last week, because we put out I got him to actually start putting some personal things on his profile. And he was able to jump from 200 impressions per post. And this post now has 2,000 impressions. And we're testing into the message. So one of those things is when you see it working, it will feel better. That one piece I know is true. But the other piece of that puzzle, I would say, is focus on one platform. Just one. Don't try to put yourself out. If you really hate social media, find the one platform that you think is going to be a good acquisition channel for your business and just ignore the rest for now, until you get this platform in a place where you feel really good about what you're posting, you feel like you, and you don't hate it every single day. You might never love marketing. Some people just don't love marketing, and I get that. You might never be able to change that about yourself, but you can make it to where you don't hate it, because you feel like everything that you're posting makes sense, and you have a really good strategy, and you have a brand fit that feels like you. And then it becomes much easier. I don't know if that really answers the question enough for Jessica. Yeah, okay. And I get you. I'm a marketer, and sometimes it drives me crazy. So even marketers, we're horrible marketers for ourselves. So Melissa, I post others' content, I quote and give credit, but I don't create my own content. Do you agree that I am probably wasting my time doing this? If that is the only thing that you're doing, probably yes. If you're doing that in conjunction, let's say if you posted 3 times a week, for example. Let's say that one of those posts was one of these where you're talking about others. That is an amazing part of a robust strategy. The other 2 posts should be about your business and about you and about how you serve your client. Because if you're not doing that, then they're not going to see themselves in you. And the whole purpose, I'm guessing that, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing your whole purpose for being on LinkedIn is to find clients. Is that true? Anyone to be like, nope, that's definitely not what I want to do. Yeah. So if your whole purpose on being here is to find clients, then you need to do the things that are going to help clients find you. And that's by making sure that you are visible and that you are sharing your work and you're sharing what they need to see in order to connect to you as well. Jessica, I mean, I love it, but not everyone does. So when you encourage others, I sometimes get pushback. Jessica, what do you mean by that? Oh, you love social media. Is that what you're saying? But not everyone does.
Sometimes we're talking with clients and we will make suggestions for them. And so their suggestion is like, well, I don't want to use it. And it's like, but everyone's online. So it's like, that's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah, that is so for your clients, that is a really good point. So I'm guessing that when you're having conversations with your bookkeeping clients that you're talking about their whole business and helping them how to help them grow. I think a lot of it is going to be about trying to think of the best way. So another client, this might help. I'm trying to figure out if this is a good story to share. Another client of mine is an RV resort. My husband and I bought an RV and we go RVing all the time. If you end up following me, you'll see it on LinkedIn every so often. But we went up to this resort that was this beautiful place on top of a mountain in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Gorgeous. Like the views were breathtaking. Actually, it's the picture that's on the screen right now. That is the RV resort that we were at. It was empty. It was almost empty. There was like 7 spots filled. And I kept like we were there for 2 weeks and I kept going and I finally went to talk to the owners because I was like, you guys should not be empty. Like this should not be happening. And so I think that is a key piece of how you can talk to them is like, this should not be the state of your business. And if this is the state of your business, doing nothing, but if we can get you to find a way to bring social media into the mix that you don't like, you might not like it at first, but you can learn it or you can hire somebody to do it for you or to help you do it, that your business could go from 7 people in the RV resort to being 70% full. That is what has happened for the RV resort that we're working with. They went from 7 people being there to they had their first fully booked holiday weekends this entire summer that they've never had before. They're almost fully booked out for next summer for the holiday weekends because we were able to bring social media in and we were able to create a consistent tone and a consistent message and let people know what to expect. It is the thing about that is it is the place their audience is. And if they really want to connect and can build a connection with their audience, they have to be there. Because if they're not, somebody else is, and they're going to lose the customer. That would be how I would try to tell them. So I don't know if that's helpful. Cindy, I post the same post on my personal and business page. Is it better to only use the personal? As long as you're leading with the personal, I would say that's fine. I wouldn't lead with because any like reshares, LinkedIn, the algorithm does not look at reshares the same way that it looks as original content. It prefers original content on your founder profile.
So
if you want to,
I'm sorry, I'm using a social media thing. So you just, you schedule it and it goes to both at the same time. Does that make a difference?
I'd be curious to test. I think you could try testing it because they're a duplicate message. I don't know if the LinkedIn algorithm is going to hurt that. I don't know if it pays enough attention to the company page for it to matter. But here's what I will say. If you are posting things that could be posted on your business page, then your posts probably aren't personal enough.
Interesting.
Because what you're posting should sound like it's coming from you, a person, not from a company.
Gotcha.
And so that might be a way to think about it. Like you need to have a little bit more of you in the post. Because if you could post it on your company page, then it's probably not personal enough. And I don't mean trauma dumping. I don't mean telling all of your secrets, but having specific moments of you in a post are important. Okay. So if you're telling somebody to not feel overwhelmed, for example, for someone, I can't remember which of the profiles I was looking at, but Monica, yeah. If you're telling someone not to be overwhelmed, you should be able to share a specific moment where you felt it in your day-to-day life. Maybe it was at the grocery store. Maybe it was something like I felt this like at the grocery store, there was a line five deep long. I had 2 minutes to go in and out. I was super overwhelmed. Like that is a way to anchor them in a very specific moment. People remember specificity more than anything else. And so anytime you're sharing something you want them to learn, anchor it with a story. A story will always lead better. And it's always a better way to bring it in.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay. I am looking through more.
I think one last question and then we can wrap up. It was like, Jessica, what things do you recommend on the featured section? It's a good one to end.
Excellent. Yeah, that is an excellent question. I would recommend 2 things. Number 1, making a very clear, and if you look at Cindy's profile, you'll kind of see what we built for Cindy's. Making a very clear connection to how people can contact you and the way that you want to work with them. So if your goal is to get like one-on-one strategy hour calls, that should be a featured item. Book a one-on-one strategy call with me. Or if you want to say, let me do your taxes, or whatever that one key service you want them to connect to is, that should be in your featured section. The other thing that I would say is if there is something you can give them, if we call it a lead magnet, if there's something that you can give them that provides relief for whatever emotional or business stress, frustration they're feeling, that you can solve for them, give them a way to get that lead magnet and build your email list. Those are the two things that I would recommend doing.
Can that lead magnet go to a lead magnet we already have on our website, or does it have to be separately?
Nope, okay. Absolutely. If you've already got it, that's even better. You could do it today.
Because the email list thing is on that. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. Send them to that page. As long as it's really clear what they're getting on the page, make sure that they understand what they're getting out of it and how you're solving either the emotional mindset problem or the business mindset problem, whatever it is that they're trying to do. Just make sure that language is on there.
Okay.
So, but those two things, because then you're saying, here's how to contact me. Here's something I'm going to give you for free. Thanks for visiting my profile. Okay. And if you happen to look at my LinkedIn profile, my lead magnet isn't there yet. So like I said, even marketers are not always great at marketing ourselves. But thank you very much. I know we are way over time. And
thank you so much for taking the extra time to answer the questions. I know LinkedIn is, and all social media is a little bit overwhelming. So I appreciate you listening in and hearing about how to make your brand as sparkly as you are, as I know all of you are. So thank you so much for being with us, and have a great Thanksgiving. Hope to see you all in December. Until we meet again, dream big, shine bright, and be kind.